The first lie that you might have heard of is that you can only own X amount of things. When it came to my minimalist journey, I used to think that this is something that I had to go by. Like, I thought I'm not really a minimalist if I have more than 2 pillows. And I used to get a lot of hate in my comment section back in the day. I still get hateful comments till this day, but it's so easy to just block that person and delete the comment. But back then, YouTube didn't have that where it's like, all right, you can delete the comment, but they can put it back. So they didn't have that option to block people. So the minute I would delete a negative comment regarding on how many items I owned as a minimalist, it would always get to me back then. And I laugh about it now because I was younger and I used to let things get to me a lot more on like what others would say about my lifestyle. Now that does not work. I really don't care what others have to say. And I think that's what comes with your 30s, is you stop caring what others think a lot. But I think what hurts people the most, like when they're adapting a minimalist lifestyle, is watching videos like, all right, I only own 1 of these items or 2 of these items. And I am guilty. I am so freaking guilty of making videos like this. I didn't delete them. They're still up, but I cringe now thinking like, what was I doing making a video of like,
I only own 1 of these items, I only own 2 of these items.
Till this day I wonder like, who the heck did I make that video for? Because I know for sure that I didn't make it for myself. I was just trying to prove like, hey, look at me, I only own 1 of these items, I am a true minimalist, see, I told you so. So a lot of it was to just prove that I'm a minimalist, and that's so silly. Like, now that I'm saying it on camera, that is so silly to think about, to say. I think when it comes to living or adapting a minimalist lifestyle or any kind of lifestyle or lifestyle change, you should just focus on what you want to do, what you want to own, how you want to go about getting rid of things. And don't focus on the number. It's just that. It's just the number. It doesn't matter. So if you have 20 to 30 pairs of socks like I do, then shall be it. I mean, everything that I own has a purpose. Even though I own a little bit more things than I did back then when it, you know, regarding my socks and certain clothing items, I am happy with what I own. I know everything that I own I use. I get good use out of it. So anyways, you guys will never see me do a video like that ever again. I do not count things anymore, and I think it's silly to base your lifestyle on 1 number. For me, I feel like I could be doing more things with my time than counting how many bras and underwears I own. Like, that's really not going to do anything for me. So yeah, I do not count things anymore, and that's a huge lie when it comes to the minimalist lifestyle or community, however you want to call it. No one really counts how many items you own. As long as you have a purpose for that item and you like that item, that's all that should matter. Minimalists also live a zero waste and vegan lifestyle.
Kira, why are you buying shampoo from the store that comes in a plastic bottle? You're not very zero waste.
No kidding. I have said it in my videos plenty of times before. I am not zero waste by any means. I do not claim to be zero waste. There are certain things that I own that are considered zero waste. There's certain items in my house that are reusable, but I'm not zero waste. I find it very hard to be zero waste. Maybe that's just in my head, but with my budget and with how the stores are too, like companies around my area, they package everything in plastic, including like cucumbers and tomatoes. Everything's in plastic. It's very hard to kind of like bypass that unless you want to pay an arm and a leg for organic groceries. Yeah, I'm not zero waste, so needless to say, I do purchase the things that are cheaper and they come in plastic packaging because they are cheaper. So like I said, we're on a budget. I've said this so many times that I'm not zero waste. I wish I could adapt that lifestyle sooner than later, but it is very hard, especially in my area, in the stores that I have around me. They're not very zero waste friendly. I don't get why people think like, even though I'm a minimalist, they automatically think like I follow a zero waste lifestyle. Same thing goes for being vegan. I went vegan way before I even knew what a minimalist lifestyle was. I went vegan for the animals. I've talked about this a long time ago. So I've seen plenty of people online that live a minimalist lifestyle and they're not vegan and they're not zero waste. It does not matter. So anyways, what I'm trying to say is that I used to get a lot of comments basically scolding me on how I preach that I'm zero waste and that I buy plastic things. I've never ever said not once that I was zero waste. So I think a lot of people tend to get confused because what you see online is there are a lot of YouTubers, Instagrammers that happen to be a minimalist and they happen to be vegan and they also happen to be zero waste. I can definitely see how it's confusing to others, but don't assume that just because this person's a minimalist, they must live a zero waste lifestyle and also they probably eat plant-based too. Don't assume that. Everybody's different and we can also learn from each other. So we can learn from our differences, believe it or not. It's easy to say no as a minimalist. I'm gonna tell you a little story on why I think this is a lie. So when I adopted my cat Milo, I love him to death. When I adopted him, I wanted to buy him the world. I bought him a cat tree, like a cat house. I bought him so many toys. Even though I'm a minimalist, I wanted him to have the world. And the word no with like toys for him and treats and everything like that in the beginning stage of, you know, with him being a kitten, the word no wasn't there. So just because I live a minimalist lifestyle, that doesn't mean I don't make money mistakes. I make a ton of money mistakes till this day. Obviously nobody's perfect. Life is all about learning from your mistakes. So I try not to dwell on the things that I purchase. Even though I do make videos saying things that I regret, I just laugh about it. It's not that serious. But when it came to certain things, like I just wanted more and more and more. And then I gradually learned my lesson over time, learned my lesson that cats don't need a lot of toys. Milo right now owns about five toys. He's 2 years old now, and I still catch him playing with a random pencil or a random piece of paper, and he doesn't play with his toys. So yeah, I learned a valuable lesson with purchasing or trying to give him the entire pet store. Very silly of me, but it happens. And there's a couple other things that I have purchased, even with just living here. There's a couple other things that I have purchased that I shouldn't have, and I should have just saved my money. But yeah, it's not easy to say no either. Like, I mean, certain things you learn to say no to, like a brand new car. I'm not into that. I'm good with my used vehicle. There's certain things that you learn throughout the process of, you know, living or adapting a minimalist lifestyle. Same thing goes for clothes. I'm pretty good with saying no with clothes. Other things, I'm still getting there, especially when we have guests. I find myself like at the grocery store for like hours trying to find the perfect snack, buying extra food for no reason. Yeah, so I still make mistakes. I'm not perfect, and that's okay too. So just because you live a minimalist lifestyle, it doesn't mean that you're going to be money conscious all the time. You instantly become stress-free once you adapt a minimalist lifestyle. This is a complete lie. I am more stressed out now than ever. I know I'm not showing it, but I'm trying my best to stay positive. I've been through a lot this year and last year. I've been through a lot, and just because I live a minimalist lifestyle and everything is very minimal in our house, it doesn't mean that we're not gonna have stressful days or stressful months with our low income, with Milo's ongoing health issues, with car problems. Like, there's so many other issues that pop up that have nothing to do with a minimalist lifestyle. So owning less can be a little bit like have a stress-free feeling, but it's not going to make stress go away. So it's definitely not a quick fix for feeling stressed. So try not to believe the hype where they're like, oh, if you adapt a minimalist lifestyle, you won't be stressed ever again, or you won't feel as stressed. You're going to have your bad days just as much as anybody else would. And like I said, this is the most stressful point in my life right now, and I'm learning how to cope with it still. I'm learning to take each day at a time and try to think more positive. So yeah, living with less will not make or break your stress, to be honest with you. Declutter faster tips or timing yourself when it comes to cleaning or decluttering. I wouldn't say it's like a lie, but it's something that you definitely should not do. Do not give yourself a time limit with decluttering. This is not a cleaning situation. I do time myself with cleaning. I give myself 10 minutes to like sprucing up. But when it comes to like decluttering, I never timed myself. There was one time when I lived with my mom back in the day where I decided to declutter my entire room in one day, and I stressed myself out so much because I was emotionally attached to a lot of items, and I would just find myself sitting on the floor thinking like, what do I do? Do I get rid of this? Do I not? But I have to get rid of it because I told myself that I would declutter this entire room today. Yes, there are some good tips out there, but the number one tip is to take your time. You do not want to get rid of something that means a lot to you by accident for just decluttering fast. You also don't want to get rid of something that you might end up purchasing 2 or 3 months from now because you got rid of it by accident because you were, again, decluttering on a timer. There are tons of videos on how to declutter in 10 minutes, how to declutter in an hour, how to declutter your space in 30 days. Those videos can be helpful, but just be careful. Till this day, I have gotten rid of so many things that I wish I would have kept, including a lot of clothing items I wish I would have kept, because then that would have saved me some money in the long run when it came to dresses or shoes, instead of me just getting rid of everything just to have an empty space. So just be cautious when it comes to fast decluttering tips. The I own nothing. So I see this a lot, and I'm not going to completely rant about this or drag it through the mud. I think if I lived alone, I wouldn't own as many things as I own now, because I have learned a lot through you know, my first apartment. So if I did live alone and I planned on living alone for the rest of my life, then I would own a lot less, or probably nothing, to be honest with you guys. But when it comes to living with someone else, or wanting a relationship, or living with roommates, the whole I own nothing trend is highly impossible. And like I said, I'm not hating on this or putting any negativity to the I own nothing situation, but it's not that realistic to the average person. Like myself, I lived with my boyfriend, I live with a cat. There's no such thing as me coming on here and saying I own nothing. I own a closet filled with clothes, we own a bed, we own 2 cars, a plant. It's like, I own a lot of things, okay? And then of course in the future we do plan on having children, so the whole I own nothing, it's not realistic for us. And like I said, if I was to live alone and know that I wanted to be alone and just, you know, live in a studio or a small place, then I probably would own the bare minimum. But that's not for everybody. That lifestyle is not for everybody. So do not feel like, oh, if you own nothing, that it's gonna make your life fantastic. It might make it fantastic, and it might make it a living hell. So keep that in mind. I'm just being brutally honest with you guys. It does seem appealing to some people, especially myself. Like, I do wish I owned a little bit less when I lived alone. So not to get too deep into this, but you do not have to own nothing in order for you to want to adapt a minimalist lifestyle, or to feel like, oh, owning nothing will probably make me feel less stress and make me feel good about the house that I live in. Just keep in mind that lifestyle is not for everybody, especially if you plan on having a family or if you plan on living with roommates. That whole owning nothing, it's really hard to go by, and it's a little bit unrealistic when you are living with others. So just keep that in mind when it comes to these kind of videos. The minimalist aesthetic is always neutral tones. I'm probably the last person to even talk about this, because that's all I wear is neutral tones, and that's all that's in our house when it comes to like comforters, bedding, everything's neutral. And that's just because we like it. My boyfriend does like colorful items. He does wear lime green shorts, he wears red shorts, he wears orange shirts. He likes color. As for me, I prefer to wear neutral tones because I feel like it complements my skin tone. It just complements me a lot better. And I used to wear a lot of colors. Back in the day, I used to wear hot pink, yellow, lime green. Like this sweatshirt would be lime green or hot pink. In like middle school and high school days, I was wearing a ton of colors. And I used to have like yellow hoop earrings. But I will be honest, when I did adapt a minimalist lifestyle, I dabbled into the whole neutral vibe and I fell in love with it. Now, does this mean that every minimalist is into neutral tones and the aesthetic? No. A lot of people think that, oh, well, since she's a minimalist, says she probably has no color in her house, she doesn't really like things that have color. That is not true at all. And I can see how people would think that with Pinterest and with YouTube. I will say a huge portion of the minimalist community online is into neutral tones and into that neutral aesthetic. So I can see how it can be portrayed as like minimalist people only use neutral aesthetics or wear neutral tones. But that's not true. Everybody's different. Like I said in the beginning, everybody is different. So say you're adapting a minimalist lifestyle, but you still want to keep your red comforter and your yellow blanket, then do so. It does not matter what other people think. There's no handbook with like adapting a minimalist lifestyle. There's no rules. There's no minimalist police. You are perfectly fine and capable of wearing whatever you want to wear, painting your walls whatever color you want to paint them. So that's a big lie when it comes to adapting a minimalist lifestyle. That doesn't mean that everyone is into neutral tones or a modern neutral aesthetic. It just happens that everyone online that's showing their apartment and showing their wardrobe that lives a minimalist lifestyle, it just happens that they are into neutral tones as well. So that doesn't have to be the case for everybody. You can like colors and still be a minimalist. That, you know, that shouldn't matter just as much as the whole owning 5 or 20 items of one thing shouldn't matter. Anyways, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below what is the biggest lie that you have ever heard when it comes to adapting a minimalist lifestyle.